everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and with the introduction of the iPhone 13 this year, Apple reduced the price of the iPhone 11. And so I wanted to help you decide whether or not to upgrade from an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 13, or maybe upgrade to an iPhone 11 from something else. And so Apple has dropped the price of the iPhone 11 this year by another $100, so it's $499 or $549. They no longer offer the 256 gigabyte model of the iPhone 11 new, but they offer 64 or 128 gigabytes of storage. With the iPhone 13, Apple now offers double the storage of last year from the iPhone 12, and instead the base model is now 128 gigabytes. So $799 to $1,099, or add an additional $30 for the unlocked version if you're not going through a carrier. You have 128 gigabytes, 256, or 512 gigabyte options with the iPhone 13. The iPhone 11 comes in the same colors it did before: white, black, green that I have here, yellow, purple, and product red. Those are the available colors for iPhone 11, where the iPhone 13 comes in pink, blue that I have here, midnight, starlight, and again red or product red. Now with the iPhone 11, we have a classic design that's been around for years. We have rounded corners, and it's rounded all the way around, but we have glass on the back and front, just like we do with the iPhone 13 or anything after the iPhone 11. The iPhone 11 is made out of aluminum, and the edge rounds over the front display where the glass is actually curved. So it's very comfortable to use, and swiping from edge to edge is very smooth. There's no bumps or anything on the edge. With the iPhone 13, it's still aluminum and glass, but it's squared off, similar to that of the iPhone 4 or 5, and aluminum on the outside edges, and it's just not as smooth going to the edges. However, it does feel a little bit more premium, in my opinion, and more durable, but maybe not as comfortable in the hand. And so on the front, we have ceramic shield, which is 4 times less likely to break when dropped, and on the back, you have regular glass as well. Ceramic shield has been very durable in my past year or so of using it, and I have no scratches on it whatsoever on the previous generation phones. Now, as far as the overall size, we have similar screen sizes I'll talk about in a moment, but the overall size of the phone itself is a little bit smaller with the iPhone 12. It's a little bit narrower, as you can see here, as well as not as tall due to the outside construction. So it's not as tall because it's squared off, and they were able to make the bezels a little bit smaller. So there's a little bit of a difference there. Also, thickness-wise, you can see the difference. They're very, very similar, although, again, the iPhone 13 is slightly thinner. And because of that, there's also a weight difference as well. The iPhone 11 is 6.84 ounces or 194 grams, where the iPhone 13 is 6.14 ounces or 174 grams. So there's definitely a weight difference. It's very slight, but some may notice it, some might not, but you can definitely notice the size difference when holding them. Now, when it comes to the display, there's big differences here. With the iPhone 11, you have a 6.1-inch display. It's a liquid retina LCD. It's 1,792 by 828 with 326 pixels per inch. Now, it goes up to 625 nits of regular brightness, so it's not as bright as the iPhone 13. I'll show you that in a moment, but it does have P3 wide colors, True Tone, and haptic touch. And so it does look great. And there's some people that say that they can see the pixels, but anything over about 300 pixels per inch, you can't really see. Now, the iPhone 13 display does look a little bit better because it's an OLED. It's a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR display. It's the same display basically as the Pro, but doesn't go as bright. So it's an OLED display. It can play HDR up to 1200 nits, but with an 800 nit normal brightness. So it's super bright, and it's hard to show the difference here on camera, but it's super bright either way, and it's easy to see either in sunlight, but the 13 definitely is easier to see in sunlight. Now, it has a resolution of 2532 by 1170 with 460 pixels per inch. So it's got a very high pixel density, and again has P3 wide color, True Tone, and haptic touch. So they're the same that way. Now, one thing the iPhone 11 does not have is PWM, or pulse width modulation, which is a way of controlling brightness that actually flickers the display. It flickers faster or slower depending on the brightness level and can bother some people's eyes. In fact, it does bother me as well, and it's about 1 in 10 people that have this issue where it causes eye strain or can cause you to feel nauseated. On the iPhone 11, it does not have PWM, so you cannot ever see the screen flicker. With the iPhone 13 under slow-mo at 240 frames per second, there is a flicker to the display. This may bother people's eyes. This year, with the Pro models, it doesn't seem to bother me at all, as it's at a high enough rate that it doesn't bother my eyes at all. But for some people, it still could cause eye strain. So keep that in mind if you're picking this up. If you're getting headaches while using it, you may want to consider an iPhone 11, since that won't have that problem. Now, also, you can see the notch has been shrunk this year with the iPhone 13. There's definitely a difference there. It doesn't really give you any additional real estate as far as icons in the upper right. Apple has not given us a battery status indicator, even though they have extra width there to do so, or a battery percentage, but you still have the same sort of layout, even though the notch has been shrunk slightly. They've also moved the speaker to the top instead of in the middle of the notch, and moved the camera to the left. So there's a little bit of a difference there with the overall placement. And with the iPhone 13, the stereo sound sounds a little bit better compared to the 11. So I wanted to show you a video quickly to let you hear the difference between each one of them. So first is the iPhone 11. Now here's the iPhone 13. So there you were able to hear the difference between the 11 and the 13. Of course, it's only going to be as good as my microphone is, but the 13 definitely goes louder and has a better stereo sound to it overall. The top speaker has been improved greatly and is much louder and sounds basically the same volume as the bottom speaker this time around. So there's an advantage there. It's not a huge advantage, but it is definitely something that's better. Now, as far as the battery is concerned, both of them are pretty good as far as battery. iPhone 11 gets up to 17 hours of video playback according to Apple and has a 3,110 milliamp hour battery. The iPhone 13 has up to 19 hours of video playback and has a 3,227 milliamp hour battery. Generally, you can expect between 6 to 8 hours of screen on time depending on how you use your phone. Now, if you're using music and maybe just listening to music and using Safari at the same time, you're going to get good battery life out of either one of them. The LCD uses lower power because it's not as high resolution and doesn't have the brightness that the other one does, so it's not pushing as much power all the time. However, they do get good battery life. The 13 will get a little bit more. Both of them do fast charge, about 50% in 30 minutes or so, but the 13 has MagSafe, so you can charge with a MagSafe adapter. If you have that, just put it on the back and it will charge the phone. Now, you can charge both wirelessly if you want to. They both support that with Qi wireless charging, but there is an advantage with the 13 Pro having the latest technology in it. Now, overall speed of the phones is very similar in everyday use. You already saw that I opened music. They seem to load about the same. Maybe if I go over to my library, go back to browse, you'll see that, well, the 13 is a little bit faster than the 11, but it's not so much that it will be a problem for most people. The iPhone 11 has an A13 Bionic with 4 gigabytes of RAM and the next-gen neural engine, where the iPhone 13 has the A15 Bionic with 4 gigabytes of RAM and a new 6-core CPU with 2 performance and 4 efficiency cores, a new 4-core GPU, and a new 16-core neural engine. So there's a difference there. Now, as far as a way to show you the overall speed, it's very difficult to do, but you can see just opening the camera, maybe going over to photos, closing it, going into music, opening apps is really going to be about the same. I did want to show you exporting a 4K video just to show you if there's any difference there. Usually it's only going to be a few seconds. It's very hard to show the difference as far as the processor speed, as much of it has to do with maybe processing augmented reality and more. So what I've done is I've made a 4K iMovie video. I've used the same video in other videos as well for comparisons. If we go into iMovie, you'll see that I already have the video here. And so let me bring in another phone that we can use as a stopwatch. So we'll go into the clock here, and then we'll go into stopwatch, and let's go ahead and try and export this. Now, this is the same movie on both of these in iMovie. Both of them are 3 minutes and 46 seconds long. You can see it's stuttering a little bit on the iPhone 11 as I scroll through fast, but they're the exact same video with the same titles and everything. So let me go ahead and share this, or we'll hit done. Hit done on both. We'll share both. So we'll go ahead and hit save video and see how long it takes. And let me speed this up so you don't have to wait. Now you can see there was only a couple second difference between the export of 4K video, and so there's definitely not as big of a difference as you might think. So the processors both are powerful, but the iPhone 13 definitely has the more powerful processor when it comes to other features. Now, one thing that makes the difference with that processor is the cameras. There's two different cameras on the back of both phones, and they're both great. But first, let's talk about the forward-facing camera. The front-facing cameras on both are 12 megapixel cameras, and they're both f2.2 apertures. With the iPhone 13, you gain a few extra features though. You have Smart HDR4, Night Mode, Deep Fusion on the front camera, and 4K 60, but the iPhone 13 can record in Dolby Vision HDR up to 60 frames per second on the front camera, as well as has cinematic mode. So you'll see we have all of these different modes where you have cinematic video, which is basically portrait video mode on the front-facing camera. It's 1080p with cinematic mode and HDR. That's why it's so bright and hard to see in this video, but you have that option. With video on the iPhone 13, again, you have HDR. So let me change the settings here. We'll go into settings, and if we go down to camera, under formats, you'll see we have HEVC for high efficiency, and then also under record video, we have HDR video. So you have those options on the iPhone 13 where you don't have them on the iPhone 11. So if we go into the same settings, you won't have the option for HDR video. However, you can watch it back, and if we go into video recording, we can record 4K 60, but without HDR. So that's the difference there when it comes to that. So if HDR doesn't matter to you, then the iPhone 11 will be just fine. However, if it does, the iPhone 13 is the way to go. Now with the back cameras, they're similar in the sense that they're both 12 megapixel cameras, but on the iPhone 11, we have a wide f1.8 as well as an ultra-wide f2.4, again with 4K 60 video. On the iPhone 13, we have a wide f1.6 that allows in more light, and a ultra-wide f2.4 again, but again we have night mode on all cameras in Deep Fusion, Smart HDR4, again with that cinematic mode, and also photographic styles, which is something else that's new. So if you go into your menus, tap on the menu button, you'll have this little icon here where we can change the photographic style. If we want to change it from maybe, say, standard to contrast, vibrant, or warm, or adjust it however we want, we have that option to do that in real time and have it baked into the photo so that you can have it set this way to your liking, maybe to post online, or just maybe you like photos to be a little bit different looking than what Apple has standard out of the camera. So all of those things are advantages on the iPhone 13 over the iPhone 11. Now, when it comes to the cameras, let's go ahead and take a look at them and I'll show you the differences. Now, both of these photos are taken with just the default settings out of the camera. So I think they both look great. And then I sat in this bench here and took this photo. Again, same default settings. However, I do think the iPhone 13 looks a little bit more natural. I took an ultra wide shot as well and similar results. I think the ultra wide on the 13 is a little bit better. With zoom though, we have 5 times digital zoom. There's no optical zoom. I think the iPhone 11 does a better job here, surprisingly. Both phones have flaring when you're pointing them at bright objects such as the sun or at night on the moon. And also up close, the iPhone 13 looks a little bit better because it has an f1.6 aperture and has a little bit more blur, as you can see. Using night mode handheld is what you see here, just pointing it at the sky and hitting the button. Then I adjusted it to the maximum amount of exposure that I could with night mode, and this is that photo. And then also I switched to a tripod and exposed for as long as I could, and it shows you the difference between all of them. The iPhone 13 is definitely more natural with these types of photos than the last generations of phones. So this is the forward-facing camera of the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 11. And as you can see, the camera on the iPhone 11 is definitely not handling the background as well. It doesn't have the dynamic range of the iPhone 13. And also here's the microphone from the iPhone 13 compared with the iPhone 11. So let me know which one you think sounds better, whether it be this iPhone 11 or the iPhone 13. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. The ultra-wide camera, when in video mode, does a great job on both of them. As you can see, the ultra-wide on the iPhone 13, I think, does a little bit better job with focus since it's upgraded this year, but overall, they're very, very similar. Also, when you're using stabilization, maybe just walking down a path like this, you'll see that they're very, very similar. The iPhone 13 has sensor shift stabilization, but you really don't notice a difference until you get to the larger lenses. Now, I really wouldn't upgrade due to just sensor shift stabilization, as the optical image stabilization of the iPhone 11 looks pretty good here as well. Now, when it comes to the cellular connectivity of both, they're very different. The iPhone 11 has an Intel modem and has up to 4G, where the iPhone 13 has 5G with millimeter wave in the United States and 5G in more places around the world. It also has dual eSIM support, so both phones have dual SIM support in the sense of one physical and one eSIM, but the iPhone 13 has dual eSIM support at the same time, so if you use dual SIM cards, that may be an advantage for you. The iPhone 13 also has FaceTime HD calls using 5G as well, so that's something a little bit different. The iPhone 13 also has a Qualcomm modem, which seems to be more reliable compared to the Intel modem that's in the iPhone 11. There's always been some issues with those Intel modems, it seems, based off many people that have told me they've had poor connectivity. However, the iPhone 11 seems to be pretty good overall. They have similar Wi-Fi on both, 802.11ax or Wi-Fi 6 support, so there's no difference really there. It's just mostly the cellular connectivity. IP rating is also slightly different as well, where the iPhone 11 has IP68 for 2 meters up to 30 minutes. The iPhone 13 is a little bit better sealed and has IP68 6 meters up to 30 minutes. So you can go a little bit deeper with the iPhone 13 and it seems to be more resistant overall. And they have the same Bluetooth setup as well, Bluetooth 5.0. And so those are all the differences between the iPhone 11 and iPhone 13, and hopefully that helps you get a better idea of which one is best for you. Would you rather pay almost double the price of the iPhone 11 for the iPhone 13, or is the iPhone 11 good enough for you for what you care about most? If you care about the photos and video quality, I would go with the iPhone 13. But if you care about maybe you have issues with PWM, the iPhone 11 is definitely the better option there. Both have the same screen size, and the iPhone 13 does seem to be a little bit faster with certain applications and certain things with all of those extra photo features, with the smaller notch and the OLED display. But if none of those things matter, well then the iPhone 11 is definitely a bargain, and you may even be able to get it for less than the retail price with deals through your carrier. So there's definitely a lot of advantages to each depending on what matters most to you. Let me know which phone you picked up in the comments below, or maybe you picked a different one, an iPhone SE or maybe an iPhone 13 mini. Let me know what's best for you in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you there. And if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.